Throughout human history, the pursuit of pleasure has been both a driving force and a source of profound ambivalence. The allure of pleasure, whether in the form of sensory indulgence, emotional satisfaction, or the acquisition of wealth and status, has seduced countless generations with the promise of happiness and fulfillment. Yet, as both Aldous Huxley and Socrates poignantly observed, the unbridled pursuit of pleasure can paradoxically lead to suffering. In our modern society, where consumer culture and the endless quest for novelty dominate the landscape, the ideas presented by Huxley and Socrates resonate even more strongly. Huxley's observations on the seductive nature of pleasure and its potential to blind us to our inner realities offer a cautionary tale about the perils of overindulgence. Meanwhile, Socrates' emphasis on self-examination, moderation, and the cultivation of virtue provides a counterpoint to the pursuit of hedonistic satisfaction. Overview of Brave New World. Set in a not-so-distant future, Brave New World imagines a society where human beings are no longer born but manufactured in hatcheries. The citizens of this world are conditioned from birth to accept their predetermined roles, ensuring a perfectly ordered and stable society. Central to the novel is the use of pleasure as a means of control. The population is kept placid through the ubiquitous distribution of a drug called soma, which numbs the senses and eliminates any desire for rebellion or deep emotional engagement. The society depicted in Brave New World is one of extreme uniformity and predictability. Hierarchies are meticulously engineered, and the traditional bonds of family and community have been dismantled. Sexual relations are reduced to casual encounters devoid of deep connection, and intellectual curiosity is suppressed in favor of mindless consumption and entertainment. In this world, pleasure is not an end in itself but a means to an end, a way to ensure that the citizens remain content, compliant, and detached from any existential or emotional turmoil. Huxley's portrayal of this society serves as a chilling forecast of the potential consequences of a future where the relentless pursuit of pleasure and comfort is prioritized above all else. Through vivid descriptions and biting satire, he exposes how the dark side of pleasure can lead to a society that is superficially happy yet profoundly hollow and dehumanized. The role of soma, the ultimate escape. Soma, the ubiquitous pleasure-inducing drug in Brave New World, stands as a powerful symbol of the dark side of pleasure. In the novel, soma is presented as a panacea, a drug that promises to eliminate all forms of discomfort, pain, and emotional distress. Its use is so deeply ingrained in society that citizens turn to it as a first resort whenever they encounter even the slightest hint of discomfort or dissatisfaction. Soma's promise of instant relief and perpetual bliss is irresistible, and it effectively numbs the populace to the deeper, more complex aspects of human existence. The chemical properties of soma are described in glowing, almost reverential terms throughout the novel. Its effects are portrayed as both benign and irresistibly pleasurable, creating an illusion of a utopia free from suffering. However, this blissful escape comes at a steep price. The widespread use of soma undermines the capacity for critical thought and self-reflection. Citizens become so dependent on the drug that they lose the motivation to question their circumstances. In essence, soma enforces a kind of mental and emotional quarantine, isolating individuals from the authentic experiences that contribute to personal growth and societal evolution. Soma's role as an instrument of escapism is emblematic of a broader theme in Brave New World: the danger of relying on external means to resolve internal conflicts. Instead of grappling with pain, loss, or dissatisfaction, citizens are conditioned to simply take a pill and move on, effectively sidestepping the messy, often painful process of emotional healing. This reliance on chemical comfort is a profound commentary on the potential dehumanization that can result from an overemphasis on pleasure and the avoidance of discomfort. When the pursuit of happiness is reduced to the consumption of a drug, the richness and complexity of the human experience are diminished, leaving behind only a veneer of superficial well-being. Loss of individuality and humanity. The cumulative effect of these measures is a society in which individuality is systematically eradicated. The constant barrage of pleasure, carefully engineered and controlled, leaves little room for introspection, creativity, or personal growth. Citizens become mere automatons, their lives reduced to a series of repetitive, hedonistic routines that serve only to maintain the status quo. The loss of individuality is perhaps the most tragic consequence of Huxley's dystopia. In the relentless pursuit of pleasure, the society sacrifices the very qualities that define humanity: the capacity for deep emotional experiences, the drive for self-discovery, and the longing for genuine connection. The dark side of pleasure, therefore, is not merely a cautionary tale about excess. It is a profound critique of any system that values comfort and stability above all else, even at the expense of the human spirit. The loss of spiritual and intellectual depth. One of the most striking consequences of a society fixated on pleasure is the gradual erosion of spiritual and intellectual depth. In Brave New World, Huxley illustrates how the relentless pursuit of sensory gratification can lead to a profound impoverishment of the human spirit. The citizens of the world state, inundated with superficial pleasures and ephemeral distractions, become increasingly disconnected from their inner selves, their deeper emotions, and their capacity for introspection. In a culture that prioritizes instant gratification over genuine human connection, the pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, and self-awareness is sacrificed. The intellectual and spiritual life of the individual is rendered secondary to the imperative of maintaining a constant state of pleasurable distraction. This trade-off comes at a significant cost. As the capacity for deep thought and emotional resonance diminishes, so too does the ability to form meaningful relationships or to experience true fulfillment. Huxley's dystopia is thus characterized not only by its technological and social control but also by its profound spiritual bankruptcy. The illusion of lasting pleasure. Pleasure is inherently transient. Whether it comes from food, entertainment, drugs, or even social validation, it fades quickly, leaving a void that demands to be filled again. This cycle creates a never-ending chase, where people seek more intense or frequent pleasures to recapture lost satisfaction. Psychologists refer to this as the hedonic treadmill, where one's happiness levels remain static despite increasing indulgence. Huxley foresaw this phenomenon, arguing that societies obsessed with pleasure inevitably experience greater dissatisfaction because pleasure alone lacks depth and meaning. Huxley also explored the psychological consequences of an overemphasis on pleasure. When individuals base their happiness solely on external gratifications, they lose the ability to cultivate inner peace and resilience. The human mind, conditioned by pleasure-seeking, becomes restless and dissatisfied when stimuli are not constantly available. Modern neuroscience supports Huxley's observations. The brain's reward system releases dopamine when experiencing pleasure, but excessive stimulation can lead to desensitization, requiring stronger stimuli to achieve the same effect. This is evident in addiction, where individuals seek increasing amounts of substances or activities, whether drugs, social media, or material goods, only to find diminishing returns. For Huxley, the pursuit of pleasure is fraught with the danger of illusion. When individuals equate pleasure with happiness, they overlook the transient nature of sensory experiences. True happiness, Huxley suggests, is not found in the fleeting moments of euphoria that come from indulgence, but in the cultivation of inner wisdom and the development of a meaningful life. The ceaseless quest for pleasure often leaves people trapped in a cycle of desire and disappointment, as the highs of indulgence are invariably followed by the lows of dissatisfaction. Huxley's insights call into question the cultural narratives that equate success with the accumulation of pleasurable experiences. He challenges us to consider whether a life devoted solely to pleasure can truly be fulfilling. In his view, the relentless pursuit of pleasure can lead to a state of spiritual inertia, a condition in which individuals are so absorbed in the gratification of their senses that they become incapable of engaging with the deeper aspects of their existence. This, in turn, sets the stage for suffering, as the void left by unfulfilled higher aspirations can never be filled by mere sensory delights. The role of consciousness. Central to Huxley's philosophy is the idea that true human fulfillment requires an expansion of consciousness. He believed that modern society's obsession with pleasure often leads to a narrowing of awareness, as individuals become fixated on immediate gratification rather than engaging in introspection and self-examination. Huxley posited that the key to overcoming the pitfalls of hedonism lies in the deliberate cultivation of higher states of consciousness, states that allow individuals to perceive the world in all its complexity and beauty. In his exploration of altered states of consciousness, Huxley was particularly interested in the ways in which psychedelic substances could serve as tools for expanding awareness. However, he also cautioned that these experiences, if pursued without proper guidance or understanding, could become superficial substitutes for genuine spiritual growth. The lesson here is clear: the pursuit of pleasure, when divorced from an intention to deepen consciousness, can lead to a shallow and ultimately unsatisfying existence. The Socratic method and the unexamined life. Socrates, the classical Greek philosopher, is renowned for his insistence on the importance of self-examination and the pursuit of truth. In stark contrast to the hedonistic tendencies that have characterized much of human history, Socrates argued that the unexamined life is not worth living. For Socrates, the pursuit of pleasure for its own sake was an impediment to the cultivation of virtue and wisdom. His method of inquiry, characterized by relentless questioning and dialogue, sought to uncover the deeper meanings behind human actions and to reveal the inherent flaws in a life devoted solely to pleasure. Socrates' famous dictum, "Know thyself," encapsulates his belief that self-knowledge is the cornerstone of a meaningful and ethical life. He maintained that true happiness is not achieved through the accumulation of pleasurable experiences, but through the cultivation of virtue and the pursuit of wisdom. The pleasure that arises from living in accordance with one's highest values is far more enduring and fulfilling than the transient satisfaction derived from hedonistic indulgence. Pleasure, virtue, and the good life. According to Socratic philosophy, pleasure must be subordinated to the pursuit of virtue. In several dialogues recorded by Plato, Socrates challenges his interlocutors to consider whether the pleasures that most people seek are truly beneficial, or whether they lead to a form of moral and spiritual degradation. He argued that an overemphasis on pleasure can result in a loss of self-control and the erosion of one's character, ultimately leading to a life of regret and unhappiness. Socrates maintained that the cultivation of virtues, such as temperance, courage, and justice, is essential for achieving a balanced and harmonious life. The pleasures that flow naturally from living virtuously are sustainable and enriching, as they are rooted in a deeper sense of purpose and self-respect. In contrast, the unbridled pursuit of sensory pleasure often leads to excess, addiction, and the gradual deterioration of both the body and the soul. Socrates warned that without self-discipline and a commitment to moral excellence, the pleasures of the flesh could easily become a source of suffering and despair. The paradox of pleasure. Socrates also explored the paradoxical nature of pleasure. He recognized that while pleasure can be a source of immediate joy, it is also inherently fleeting and illusory. The gratification derived from material and sensual pleasures is temporary, and those who base their happiness solely on these external sources are destined to experience a cycle of desire and disappointment. In his view, the true art of living lies in recognizing the limitations of pleasure and in seeking a form of happiness that is grounded in self-knowledge and inner fulfillment. This philosophical stance resonates with many modern critiques of consumer culture and the hedonistic pursuit of pleasure. Just as Socrates warned his fellow citizens of the dangers of an unexamined life, contemporary thinkers caution against the seductive yet ultimately unsatisfying allure of instant gratification. The challenge, then, is to cultivate a deeper understanding of what it means to live well, a task that requires self-reflection, discipline, and a commitment to higher ideals. The cycle of addiction and overindulgence. In our contemporary world, the pursuit of pleasure has taken on new forms that often lead to cycles of addiction and overindulgence. With the advent of digital technology, social media, and instant access to entertainment, individuals are bombarded with stimuli designed to captivate attention and elicit immediate gratification. However, as Huxley warned, this endless stream of sensory input can lead to a form of spiritual and emotional starvation. The more we chase the fleeting highs of pleasure, the more we risk losing touch with our deeper, more meaningful needs. The consequences of this cycle are manifold. Addiction to substances, technology, or even the pursuit of status can leave individuals feeling isolated, unfulfilled, and trapped in a relentless cycle of desire and regret. These modern afflictions echo the ancient warnings of Socrates, who observed that the unchecked pursuit of pleasure inevitably leads to a deterioration of the self. In our era, this deterioration is manifest not only in personal discontent but also in widespread social and cultural malaise, a collective yearning for deeper connection and meaning amidst the cacophony of modern life. The search for lasting fulfillment. Amid these challenges, there is a growing recognition that lasting fulfillment cannot be found in the ephemeral pleasures of the moment. Instead, as both Huxley and Socrates advocate, true contentment arises from within, from the cultivation of wisdom, self-discipline, and an enduring connection to one's inner self. In an era marked by rapid change and constant distraction, the quest for lasting fulfillment is more urgent than ever. Contemporary movements in mindfulness, meditation, and holistic well-being reflect a collective yearning to move beyond superficial pleasures and to embrace practices that nurture the mind, body, and spirit. These practices echo the ancient wisdom of Socratic inquiry and the visionary insights of Huxley, inviting us to slow down, to reflect, and to reconnect with the deeper currents of life. By fostering a sense of inner balance and authenticity, individuals can begin to break free from the cycle of overindulgence and discontent, opening themselves to a more integrated and fulfilling way of living. Embracing the wisdom of moderation. Both Huxley and Socrates champion the virtue of moderation as a means of avoiding the excesses of pleasure that lead to suffering. Moderation does not mean the complete renunciation of pleasure, but rather the conscious and deliberate balancing of one's desires with the needs of the soul. By embracing moderation, individuals can enjoy the benefits of sensory pleasures without becoming enslaved to them. Practical ways to practice moderation include setting healthy boundaries around indulgence, practicing gratitude for the simple pleasures of life, and periodically disconnecting from the constant barrage of external stimuli. Whether it is by reducing screen time, engaging in regular physical activity, or simply spending time in nature, the intentional practice of moderation helps to recalibrate our internal state and restores balance between the pursuit of pleasure and the cultivation of inner well-being. Developing emotional resilience and self-discipline. Emotional resilience and self-discipline are essential qualities for those seeking to navigate the complex interplay between pleasure and suffering. Developing these qualities involves building a strong sense of self-awareness and learning to regulate one's emotions in a constructive manner. By cultivating emotional resilience, individuals become better equipped to manage the inevitable ups and downs of life without resorting to excessive indulgence or escapism. Self-discipline, in the Socratic sense, is not about rigid self-denial but about the mindful cultivation of habits that promote long-term well-being. This can include practices such as regular physical exercise, healthy eating, meditation, and engaging in activities that foster personal growth and creativity. These practices serve to fortify the mind and spirit, enabling individuals to resist the temptations of immediate gratification and to focus on the deeper, more sustaining sources of fulfillment. Contemporary reflections and final thoughts. In our modern era, the themes explored in Brave New World are more relevant than ever. The digital age has amplified many of the tendencies Huxley warned against: constant connectivity, the commodification of experience, and the seductive pull of instant gratification. Today, we see how technological advancements and consumer culture can, at times, foster environments where superficial pleasure overshadows deeper, more meaningful engagement. As we navigate this complex landscape, Huxley's work serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of balance, a balance between enjoying the fruits of progress and maintaining a vigilant awareness of its potential costs. Ultimately, the dark side of pleasure as portrayed in Brave New World is a call to consciousness. It challenges us to question the structures and systems that shape our desires, to examine the ways in which we may be complicit in our own pacification, and to seek out a more integrated, authentic form of fulfillment. It compels us to look inward, to cultivate the capacity for introspection, and to recognize that true happiness, and indeed true freedom, lies not in the relentless pursuit of transient pleasures, but in the rich, often paradoxical, human experience. Huxley's vision is both a warning and an invitation, a warning against the seductive dangers of a society that prioritizes pleasure at the expense of depth and individuality, and an invitation to reclaim the fullness of our humanity. It is a reminder that the restoration of what is truly valuable, our capacity for wonder, creativity, and profound connection, requires us to look beyond the lure of easy happiness and to embrace the complexities of life in all their painful, beautiful, and transformative glory.